Hi, welcome to the Courage to Rise show. I'm Katie Cianci, and I'm here with Daniel Gutierrez, and he's going to share his wisdom and information about mindfulness tools with us. And I'm just so honored. I got a chance to talk to him a little bit before, and that you've done a lot of these interviews. So I'm just so excited that you're here, and you're a world-renowned thought leader in transformation. And you've been listed as one of the top 100 Hispanics in America, which is incredible. And I love that you're doing mindfulness because it's such a powerful tool, and that you're leading retreats in Peru, and you're an author, and you also give these I'm so curious about these life-altering strategies in So you've got Radical Mindfulness book out, and I'm going to be reading it soon. I'm so excited to do that. And you've also worked with the Obama administration.
I did.
Yeah. And now you're doing this. And I mean, you've just done so many things in your life. And I'm just so honored to have you here and sharing your wisdom and knowledge. So I also you also shared that you also guide executives and entrepreneurs who have really stressful, busy lives. And mindfulness is one of the tools, and you may have others as well that you want to share with us. So feel free to, just share with us. I'm really curious how just a little bit of the story about how you transitioned from, the high-powered executive life to where you are now, because it's a different lifestyle.
Oh yeah, I mean, I even dressed the way I'm dressed now wasn't exactly
Love it.
how I used to dress. But
yeah.
I think it can be all summed up in a story that I tell in my book, and that is many years back I was in a restaurant in Manhattan, in New York. It was a private membership-only restaurant. I thought, I don't know, 35th floor there on Fifth Avenue, and I'm sitting there, and I'm the windows on the building of this place was really big. So I was looking out the window, and I'm looking down, and I'm looking at my $1,700 custom-made suit and my shoes, and I'm having a $250 shot of cognac, and I'm just, I've got Al Sharpton on this side and a New York football player on this side, and I'm really just thinking I'm the shit, and just really thinking I am just. That particular day, it was snowing outside, so it didn't get any sexier than that. I mean, it was just like, wow, I have arrived. I mean, at the time I was advisor to the Department of White House Personnel for President Obama. I was president of a C-suite organization in New York City that I managed from Los Angeles. I mean, life was good. I mean, my speaking career was doing great. I couldn't complain. But in a few seconds, as I looked out the window and was just, kind of glancing at my reflection in the glass, I noticed that there was like a tear coming down my face. And I thought about that, and I said, what is that all about? And then the next thought I had was, what values did you sell to get where you're at? And it shocked me. Now, to give people a little context about where that question may have come from, is that at the age of 17, I was a licensed Baptist minister in the state of Texas. So I actually studied the Bible. I studied Hebrew and Greek. That was the path that I was going to go down. So I obviously didn't go down that route, but that's where that came from. That was the context of that question. What values did you sell? And the truth is that anyone in leadership, in high levels of leadership, sometimes turn a blind eye to things that are happening. They turn a blind eye to keep their position. I was no different. I wasn't proud of some of the things that I allowed to happen, but I still was willing to do that to keep my position or to advance my own career. Mm-hmm. So at that moment, I was just like, But society told me if I did all these things, I mean, I'm a kid from Midlothian, Texas, where there were more cows than people when I grew up. I mean, where I was sitting was like, wow, the biggest thing on earth for me to be in that position and be in that club.
Yeah.
I just decided, Katie, to give it all up. I literally that day said, something's wrong. This is not what I thought it was going to be. I literally quit working with the White House. I mean, I was still finishing out my 8 years. Obama was already finishing up. So my presidency was up in New York City. So I walked away. I literally just gave it all up. My speaking, I mean, I was a $25,000 an hour speaker. You know, I didn't have to walk away from that. It was kind of, people were like, are you crazy? And all my friends were like, going, you're committing suicide, career suicide. You've worked too hard. You're a leader in our country, blah, 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 blah. So I said, no, I have to go. I have to go. So I literally walked away from it all. I ended up working with the monks in the Himalayas and working with the shamans of the Amazon and the Pacos of the Andes and just, you know, trying to figure out what my next step was going to be. And so that's kind of how I ended up. Today, at this moment, I'm sitting in the Andes, and I have a retreat center here in the Andes, a beautiful retreat center. I'm looking at mountains on both sides of me. And I do have to say this because it's kind of funny. Is the other day around here, we actually get around in what's called colectivos. And colectivos are like little vans that kind of go up and down the Sacred Valley and cost about $1 or 60 cents or whatever. And I remember I was going to Cusco in this colectivo, and I had this thought. I said, how did I get from black limousines in New York City to a colectivo headed to Cusco, right? But that was the process. That was the process of me getting, and of course I've condensed it. You can read my book to get the whole story, but it was an amazing process. And I say this, and this is probably the first time I said it in an interview in 2020, that I'm living the best years of my life now. I'm happy. I know that this is where I belong. I know that this center is what I'm supposed to be doing. There's no more question marks like the one I had that night.
Yeah, that's really powerful. And it's almost like there's a part, sometimes you think, okay, this is my goal. This is where I want to be, especially, you know, when we're a little, you know, boy or girl, we're thinking, okay, I want to, you know, if you didn't come from a lot, I didn't come from a lot. So I wanted to make sure I never had scarcity. You know, I didn't want to be without, but there's this calling in your heart that you can't ignore. It's there. And you can try to run away from it, but then once you actually align with it, there's a sense of peace, serenity. And that's what I feel from you, is that, okay, I've arrived. This is right. And maybe you were meant to go there to where you are now. You know?
Well, the interesting thing about life is that as I look back across the 56 years of my life, I realized that someone asked me once, when's the first time you ever thought of having a center? And I said, I was 17. And they said, what do you mean 17? I said, when I was a minister, I remember thinking, why can't there be a place that people can just go to and find love and peace and tranquility? And that was it. That was the last time I thought about it. And you know, fast forward many, many decades later, you know, I'm in this center. And yes, you're absolutely correct that all of the things that I've done, I've written 5 books, I've been on the cover of 3 magazines. I mean, I've done a lot in my lifetime, but all those things needed to happen in order for me to be the man that I am today, to be able to do the things I do today. There's no escaping the pathway to experience and wisdom. That is something we walk through. It's something that we learn from, or maybe not. Some people don't. You know, but the opportunity to be able to grow as a human being and grow as a person and grow spiritually as well is extremely important. And I could not have taken on this property if I didn't have some business acumen, you know, and some political acumen, which I do have. And I'm able to manage my way through Peruvian politics here. So, you know, you're right. We're never in the wrong place. We're never in the wrong place. We're just in a place that we need to get through.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes we feel like that though, you know, especially when
Of
things
course.
are, yeah. I created this show because I had, you know, several things happen in my life that, you know, I had thought I had arrived, and then there was a divorce, and then, you know, my mom got really ill and, you know, early with Alzheimer's, and, you know, so
Right.
there's like, you know, my brother died, you know, like all this stuff kind of happened at once. And then you start to think about, okay, life, okay, now is this really where I am? You know, I mean, when things start falling apart, that's an opportunity, or things come, you know, challenges, trauma happen. Instead of staying like, woe is me, I'm a victim, is like,
Right.
okay, how, and in case we are victims in some cases at the time, but how do we get out of that feeling of hopelessness and moving
Right.
forward? And with it, how can I create an opportunity for healing, either for myself and perhaps others,
Sure.
out of this challenge? So do you
And
help
then,
people with that? Yeah.
yeah, you know what? You know, the book I wrote, Radical Mindfulness, was written because people kept asking me what I did. Like, how is it you have so much information? And I have had and pardon the way I'm going to put it, but it's just the way I feel about it. I told someone the other day, I said, man, my life has been a shit show. I mean, just one damn thing after another. It's like, geez, I mean, but even with all that stuff that went on in my life, and my condolences. I know my mother passed away 2 years ago, and it devastated me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and all these things, I'm going, really? Can I be done now? Can I really be done? Do I have to keep going through all this stuff, you know, to get where I think I'm supposed to go? But the truth is that that these lessons that we go through in life, it's a must. When Amy Weingart died of an overdose of alcohol, she was doing a plan, a song, or writing a song with Tony Bennett. And Tony Bennett was interviewed, and they asked him this question. They said, if you could say anything to Amy, what would you say to her? Now, she died when she was 20-something years old. And he said, he got kind of quiet, and he says, you know what? Life has a way of showing you how to live it if you just live long enough. And it's so true that the longer that we're able to keep ourselves on this earth, that the longer that we're able to whatever it has to be to make it, it seems as if the rule book or the manual of life begins to present itself as a beautiful rendition of how we are to live in our space today. And for me, the only way that is possible, the only way that we can really see, and it doesn't matter whether you're 21 or 81, living in the present moment, being present to what is, not what we think is so important. And I found that true for me, because when I freak out, and I'm like everyone else, I can freak out. When I freak out, right, I'm just really dramatic at it. When I freak out, it's because I have completely removed myself from the only place that I have power, and that's the present moment. We have absolutely no power in the past, and we have absolutely no power in the future. And the only way, the only place that we can truly connect to source, whatever you want to call that, really connect, is in the present moment. And in that present moment, there is the difference. There is the opportunity for life and death. There is the opportunity for success or not success. There is an opportunity for us to really see and be and experience life in its greatness. And I learned that the hard way. Don't think it was easy, because when you read my book, you'll be going, wow, it's like, this guy really did everything hard. But, you know, I didn't know any other way. I didn't grow up with anyone guiding me. It was just like, okay, I'm just going to go through this and figure it out. Here's what I can say today, Katie. And I was just sharing, because I had a group here for New Year's. And I was just sharing with them, you know, tearfully sharing with them. I said, I don't know. I never, ever in my craziest, wildest dreams felt like I was ever going to get there. whatever there is. I didn't, there was just never, like there was always just another version of the shit show that I had to go through, right? And I can honestly say, for the first time in my life, I've arrived. And we were talking about that. I've arrived and I paid my dues, and I can be happy and present and grateful with whatever shows up in my life today, because living to 56, I think I'm lucky to be alive. 56 plus, it's a bonus, the way I look at it. It's a bonus. So I'm just excited every day to get up and say it's a bonus. However, going back to what you were saying or alluding to earlier, it's being able to stay present. And to some people I know, especially if their crazy mind is going 1,000 miles a minute, that can be a very difficult thing to do. Mm-hmm. But crazy minds go 1,000 miles a minute when we're not present, when we're not focused in the moment. And so that's been, what that book was about. And I mean, it's in its simplicity, it's just saying, look, stay in the moment. No matter what you have to do, stay in the moment. And that's been my success. Because I got to be honest with you, I've only been out here like 8 months, 7 months, I don't know, 6 months, whatever. And there were many times when I freaked out and said, this is funny. This is funny. And I shared a lot because it was true. I remember one night waking up in a panic. I mean, right out of my sleep going, can't breathe. Mm-hmm. Because I didn't know. I sleep 50 here at my center. Oh. How do you buy towels? And what do you do with the towels? And who's going to wash your towels? And oh my God, I don't even have a washer. Wait a minute, I don't even have employees. Ah! I mean, in the middle of the night, I'm freaking out, right? And then I would calm myself down, and then it would be like, hey, how do you buy baby soaps? And what if they use more than one soap a day? And what if they take my soap? Right? And then I would think about where my power is, and I would center myself in the moment and go, you know what, Daniel, at 2 a.m, you can't do any of this. So go to bed and shut up.
That's so funny. I feel like we can all relate to that because, right. Especially if you have a lot, if you're a high performer and you do a lot, but just in general, like things come up and you're like, what can I do about it right now at 2 a.m?
Right now. Yeah.
Usually absolutely nothing. And so it's like, okay. So it's like you give yourself that check. Like, okay, no, there's nothing I can do about it. Let's just go back to sleep.
Let's just chill out.
Yeah, right. Chill out. And then the next morning it's like, okay, it'll work itself out. You figure it out. Sometimes you don't even remember it. You just kind of like, right. You just forget about it. You're like, what was I worried about? That was like the last thing I need to worry about.
So true.
Yeah, that's great. So do you mind sharing a little bit about, I'm really curious about this 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Can you
I think I got so much flack for putting that on the front cover of the book. I think it says how to find peace and tranquility in as little as 60 seconds. Yeah. And I remember getting a phone call from one of, I don't know, I guess they thought they were a guru or something. I don't know. So they were like, Daniel, why are you telling people they can find peace and tranquility in less than 60 seconds? And so I said, well, let me ask you a question. And he said, what? I said, how long have you been practicing your spirituality or your mindfulness, your meditation, your yoga, whatever you do? How long have you been doing it? And he said, 15 years. I said, oh my gosh, then you should be able to do it in 30. And I was trying to make a point that it doesn't take us. And so 60 seconds is all we need to change our life. Most people can't even think about it. How long is a light, like a stoplight? Like, I don't even think it's a minute, 2 minutes, and we freak out hoping that thing will change, right? We're just not designed that way. And I wrote the book with thinking about the person that's sitting on the 15th floor of a building in Manhattan, and it's loud and it's crazy and it's noisy. And I really got to thinking about, it only takes 60 seconds to give ourselves the gift of breath, which is the first thing I talk about. I mean, most of us hold our breath all day long, and then we wonder why we have a headache, and we wonder why our brain's not working. working, and we're not breathing. I remember my coach. I've had the same coach for almost 30 years. And I remember she's like 80 something years old. I mean, she's like this little Finnish woman, 5 foot, but she scares the shit out of me. I mean, I'm like, she knows me very well, right? And I remember for like 2 years, I would go to her and on New Year's or the afternoon, she says, what do I have to learn today? Tell me what my, and all she would say is breathe. And I'd go, okay, you got to give me more than that. I mean, come on, I am breathing or I wouldn't be sitting in front of you. And so this happened for like 3 years. I'd go back and I'd say, what do I need to do? She goes, Daniel, finally she says, Daniel, you're holding your breath while you're speaking to me. So 60 seconds, for those of you that don't know, have a meditation practice, for those of you that, I mean, what is the right way to meditate? The right way to meditate is whatever works for you, period, the end. You don't have to float above the ocean. You don't have to sit in a position, a lotus position. I can't, my knees hurt. So I don't do that. I'm like, no, I'm not sitting like that. My knees hurt, right? I'm like, no, I don't want to. But if you just stop long enough to just breathe and before you fight and before you argue and before you make a big decision and before you just breathe, just take a deep breath. All of a sudden you feel your shoulders relax, you feel your brain go, oh, there's oxygen. And everything begins to shift a little bit. And I say 60 seconds because it's important that and again, I speak to the person doesn't have a huge practice. I'm talking about the average person who's watching this going, oh, this guy's another freaking nutcase. You know, so it's like just breathe. I'm not asking you to see anything. I'm not asking you, just breathe. If you do it for 60 seconds, which by the way, I want to challenge everyone watching this because I have an Apple Watch. Every watch just about today has functions in it. Well, the Apple phone, like every other smart watch out there, it's smarter than we are, actually will tell you what your resting heart rate is. Check it, and then go look up what it's supposed to be. If it's higher, you're freaking out. You need to breathe, right? And so sometimes I'll just look down and go, "Whoa, man, I must be," because it's giving you a real number. It's checking your pulse, and it's not going to lie. So you know, for me, breathing is just the easiest thing. 60 seconds, and here's my prayer, my wish for people is that if you give yourself 60 seconds, you'll give yourself 120. And if you give yourself 120, you give yourself 180. And when you start getting 2 or 3 minutes of this down, your whole life will change. And that's why I say 60 seconds. Now, I remember teaching, I was in Orange County, California last year. Anyway, I was at this employee banquet. I don't know, there was 300-400 people now. And I told them, I'm going to show you how to breathe just for 60 seconds. And I'm going to time it so that you know we're done in 60 seconds. So I timed it and I got done. And the remarks I got from the majority of the people was, I didn't know it was that easy. It's not just easy, it's good for you. It's good for your lungs, it's good for your brain, it's good for your life, and it's good for helping you stay present in this moment. That's what it's there for. My watch even tells me every once in a while, it goes, breathe. And I laugh. I say, I can't believe my watch is telling me to breathe, right? But in that moment, it's like, all right. Yeah, all right, I'm going to breathe. I can't believe my watch has to tell me when to breathe.
So true. Yeah. Right. Yeah, I love that about this. So I'm a therapist specialized with people with trauma and addiction. And so for addiction, a lot of my clients didn't know. They didn't know about this whole mindfulness thing and breathing.
Yeah.
Oh no, am I going to have to sit in lotus position and I can't sit still? And, you know, and a lot of people, you know, turn to alcohol, drugs, or shopping, or, you know, there's all kinds of addictions.
All kinds of addictions. Yeah.
Like you name it, somebody's got one. So, you know, but it's like, once they learn how to do this, it changes their life. Like, I had no idea. Like this changes everything. Like changes everything.
Yeah.
It's like, you mean I
Yes.
can just breathe and not feel this like tightness in my chest and feel like I can't breathe? And it's like, yeah, because you're not breathing.
Right, right. Well, you know, and another thing that is even more powerful, when I guess once you breathe and you don't die,
Yeah.
is is that our sense of smell is the strongest sense we have,
Oh, yeah.
and it's not the one that we use the most. But I train my clients. My favorite scent is Palo Santo, and Palo Santo is sacred wood. It's grown in Ecuador and Peru, and what I teach people to do is to find a fragrance that they like. So vanilla, lavender, whatever it is. When you're breathing,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's for 60 seconds, burn that fragrance, have that fragrance with you, because it begins to change the neurons in your brain, and it begins to give you an option. It's almost self-hypnosis. It gives you an option rather than freak out. And, you know, because usually when we get to fight or flight, it's because it's quick. It's that fast. We don't even think about it. We're there, and the next thing you know, it's like we're on a roll. So I use a sense of smell more than anything, because it's so fast. Once the neurons have been rewired in your brain, it's so fast that it instantly puts you in that space where you can breathe. So whatever that fragrance is, you know, and of course my clients have to use Palo Santo. They think I'm weird, because I'm always going, okay, so I want you to get this wood, and I want you to burn. They're going, oh God, Daniel, please, just do it, you know? And then I feel like they're junky, because they're going, hey man, can you send me some of that wood from Peru? And I'm going, no, buy it on Amazon. So, you know, at the end of the day, you know, the sense of smell is so powerful that I want to encourage people to find that sense of smell, that fragrance that works for you, and use it as a way to center yourself, to get present. Now, I wanted to define radical mindfulness, because I know people always ask me, what radical, why is it radical mindfulness? Mindfulness simply is being still. You can mindfully eat, you can mindfully walk, you can do a lot of things. All it is being present, is bringing yourself to present. Radical mindfulness is the practice of mindfulness. Why is the practice of mindfulness important? Well, I'll share it with you. So when my book came out last year, I was asked to speak at an ashram. And I thought to myself, what the hell am I going to teach them? They're yogis, right? I mean, I'm really freaking out. Like, what am I going to say to yogis? I don't even do what they do, right? I mean, seriously. So I walk in there, and I'm sitting there, and I mean, I was frozen. I'm sitting on stage, and I'm looking at them in their lotus positions and their little white outfits, and I'm just going, oh, this is not good. Right? It's like, you know what? And then it dawned on me, the definition of radical mindfulness. And so I said to them, I said, you know, your ashram is beautiful. I love how quiet it is here in this beautiful oasis in the middle of this crazy, chaotic place that you guys are in. But I have a question. And they all just looked at me, and I said, 150 feet or 150 yards outside of this ashram is a 4-lane road, busy 4-lane road. Mm-hmm. I have a question. Think about this. You're backing up, you're backing up, you're backing up. And as soon as your little car pokes itself out onto that road, a car slams its brakes, honks its horns, about to hit you. What do you do? Mm-hmm. I said, do you do that? Or do you yell? I'm in an ashram, and I go, do you do that? Or do you start yelling? Do you cuss them out? And they all are like, their eyes got this big, right? Because you know they ain't gonna lie. They got this big. And I said, then you have no practice. Yes. Yes. Because that's when you're supposed to use it. Mm-hmm. That's when you're supposed to be present. That's when you're supposed to take that deep breath and practice what you've been practicing. Mm-hmm. And that's why I call it radical, because that's what I'm talking about. If you do yoga every day for 30 minutes and you go out on the freeway and start cussing everybody out, you have no practice. Yeah. Or if you go and you do whatever it is that you do, and you go to work and you start yelling at people, and you're not present, and your blood pressure's going up, and then you have no practice. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying as human beings that we can do this 100% of the time, But if we can get 70%, 80% of the time where we're bringing ourselves to the present moment, not allowing the circumstances of the chaotic world that we live in to manage us, then we can have a better life. And that's why I say 60 seconds. And that's why I call it radical, because it's radical to think that anybody can do it, including myself.
Yeah.
And I'm a teacher.
I love that. I love that because it's so intimidating for people. When I've even taught doctors the mindfulness and, you know, to teach their patients, and they're like, oh, well, I don't have time to, you know, sit. And I go, actually, mindfulness, when you're just talking to your patient, I mean, just being present instead of thinking of all the next patient or the next person that your next client you need to see. So it's a way of life. It's a way of living is what you're sharing is like radical mindfulness is a way of living. It's a way of life. It's a way of being. You're like being.
It's a lifetime practice. It's not a 30-minute thing in the morning or in the evening or whenever it is that you decide you want to do it. You know, someone asked me, when do I meditate? I said, all day long. I don't know who came up with the idea that I had to close my eyes to meditate. I don't have to close my eyes to meditate. I can meditate with my eyes wide open. You know, I said, as a matter of fact, if you're driving, please don't close your eyes.
So true. So true. Yeah. It's really also a shift for anyone who has children too. I mean, it's so, I just love to see a world of children who learn radical mindfulness, because imagine our world where everyone had a moment to just pause and take a breath. We would have we really wouldn't have war. We wouldn't have any of this stuff that we're struggling.
No, because we would slow down. Like, you know, we live in a world of fight or flight. We live in a world of fight or flight, and that's where we stay. And unfortunately, the older you get, your body can't do it anymore. And that means that people start having heart attacks and dying. And your body, and dis-ease comes from your inability to stay present. Your body cannot take that pressure over and over and over again for years and years and years. Eventually it gives out, and it gives out and becomes disease in your body because it doesn't know where else to go. It's tension that we build up. You know, there was a time when I didn't really think I'd live as long as I live now. Now I know I'm going to live into my 80s. I don't know if I'm going to my 90s, 80. We'll just say 87.
But it's so much, I mean, imagine it's such a more enjoyable way to live too. Yeah.
Well, it is, because I'll give this example, and I want everyone to practice this when you're off this, or, you know, when you go outside, instead of walking outside, I want you to close your eyes after you're standing outside. I want you to think that whatever it is for giving you that pleasure of being able to see. Like I was at Mercedes-Benz teaching not too long ago. It was in the fall, and they had one thing, and I asked all 400 employees that I was working with, tell me the one thing on your campus that is extraordinary. Nobody got it. And I said, when you come into the campus, there's only one yellow tree, because it was changing colors. It is the most magnificent tree I've ever seen. It's just all by itself, bright yellow. I don't know how you can miss it. Bright yellow. And they were all like, I said, that's when you're present, you get to see things like that. We get to see and experience life in the moment, right? Like, you know, sometimes we're so worried about getting wet. Take your damn shoes off and get wet. You know, who cares? Who cares? When we get to living life that every morning, I just did this a little while ago, I planted like 300 flowers when I came, and I'm planting another 300 tomorrow. And every morning I get to go out and cut flowers, the ones that look like they're about to die, so they don't, you know, so I can put them in my house. And I have these fresh flowers in my house. And I just love to go outside and just go, wow, life is amazing. And sometimes I have to get out of my own crap and say, take your shoes off and walk in the wet grass, right? But that's what being radically mindful will do for you, is that you begin to realize that if you have a child and you're not present, you're missing the best years of their life. I have an 18-year-old now, and I'm not around him anymore. And I'm so glad that I took the time to be present with him when he was around, right? I mean, he's alive. He's not around. He just happens to be going to university in California. But it's like, why do we have to wait until we're in our golden years to appreciate life? We don't. We can appreciate. So what I was going to say is go outside, take your shoes off, feel Pachamama, feel the earth, feel how. And I don't care if you're in a freaking Manhattan. Just feel the cement. Feel something, right? Yeah. Right? And that's what mindfulness is. I know I'm kind of crazy. That's what mindfulness is all about. It's about getting so present that, and we know what happens when you get present, is the next thing, the gift is gratitude. I'm alive. And like you said, you went through one thing, this, that, and the other, and you're wondering why. There's always someone in the world less fortunate than you. Yeah. Be grateful for what you have. Be grateful for your experiences. Be grateful that for those of us in this business, we can't teach what we don't know. We can't teach what we haven't been through. And if you're teaching, then everybody knows that you don't know what the hell you're talking about. The rest of us are just going, I'm not teaching you because I have some awesome PhD in neuroscience. I'm teaching you because been through it.
Yeah.
Been through it, walked through it. I came out the other side, and guess what? The water's good. Just keep on going.
Yeah, I love it. That gives people hope. Well, I know we're coming to a close, so I know we were going to talk about how steps of making 2020 the best year. Do you have any steps or?
Yeah, well, it's very simple. It's very, very simple. And I got to be honest with you, as soon as I said that, I thought, God, that sounds so stupid, because because I used to hear, one of my greatest friends is Don Miguel Ruiz of the Four Agreement. Yeah, he and I traveled together and spoke all over the world. And I remember we'd be sitting there talking, having breakfast or something, and he would say, Daniel, it's so simple. And I would say, shut up. Right? Like, it's not that simple. And I heard myself just say that. So I had to say that. I love Don Miguel. But the simplicity in making 2020 the best year ever is in staying where you have the most power. And that's in the now. In the now, you can say this relationship's over. In the now, you can say, I want this relationship. In the now, you can say, you know what? I need to make that phone call, or I'm not going to close the deal, and then I'm going to be wishing I could pay my employees or pay my bills at the end of the month. But the only power you have is in the present moment. And in that moment, in that present moment, you have the opportunity to act. And when you do that, there's no way that you can have a bad year. And that's why I say it's simple. I can't believe I said that, but it's simple. It's simple in that we as human beings complicate our lives because we don't know anything else but drama. We don't know anything else. I remember and I'll end with this. I remember the time when I got same coach where I called her up and I said, Sandy. She says, what? I said, I'm depressed. She goes, you're depressed? I said, yeah. She goes, Daniel, how's your son? He's great. How's your business? I said, it's good. She goes, have you paid your bills? I said, yes, I have. She goes, you have money in the bank? I said, yes. She goes, no wonder you're depressed. I said, what? She says, you don't have anything to do. You're so used to having drama in your life that you're bored. And I went, wow, I never thought about that. And you know what? That's what you get when you get to high levels of spirituality and you're floating and life is great and the bank account's great and the significant other's great and the kids are great. What you get is bored because there's nothing to do. So, powerful 2020. Stay present, act in the now, trust source, whatever that is for you. Trust source. Trust source, and you will be all right, and you'll get to the end of. And you know what? Laugh a little bit. Nobody's that serious. And I'll say this. I remember telling Don Miguel one thing, I don't mind me sharing, who were having breakfast at the Four Seasons in Denver, Colorado, and he's talking, you know, and evidently whatever he was saying I had already heard before. So I just rolled. I didn't know I was doing this. I was like, oh my God. And he says, oh, you've heard this shit before?
I love it. I love it.
You gotta have fun. Have fun anyway.
Yes. Life is now. Life is
Yes.
now. Have
Right
fun.
now.
Enjoy
Right
it.
now. Enjoy it. Yeah.
Enjoy it. Oh,
Yeah.
that's wonderful.
Enjoy it.
Well, thank you. I want to also just close with you're offering
Yes.
like a free gift or
Yes.
anything that
Yes.
you
It's
share. How
a
they can
60
contact you.
Yeah, it's a 60-second meditation. I know you're probably going, shit, he's been talking about this the whole time. 60-second meditation, but this one is cool because before I moved to Peru, I created this with Roberto Pereira. Roberto Pereira is a Latin Grammy Award-winning harpist.
Oh.
And I sat in the Andes one day and it was raining. It was all sexy. And I said, hey, let's do a meditation. And so we did this 60-second meditation. And I remember him like getting warmed up. And then, you know, we did this and I said, let's stop. He said, what? I said, I only needed 60 seconds because I can't even warm up in 60 seconds. But it's so beautiful because if you can just take that 60 seconds and use it and put it in your phone, because you can download it, put it in your phone. And in that moment when you're sitting on a train or you're sitting on a bus or you're sitting at the airport, plug it in. Plug it in. How can you find me? My name, DanielGutierrez.com. It's very simple. I know Gutierrez, it took me forever to learn how to spell it, but you'll figure it out. DanielGutierrez.com. Look me up, send me a note, and thank you so much, Katie. I love your smile. I love your energy. Thank you for having me today. You're my first interview of this year, and it's been absolutely glorious.
Oh, well, thank you so much for your time. It's just been an honor and privilege. And I definitely want to come visit you in Peru. That's been a calling for me for many years.
Yeah, come on down.
So
Weather's great.
Yes, I can't wait. So thank you again. And and I'll be including all of your information at, you know, in this, that everyone that sees this, they'll have a link.
Thank you.
All of your information and for the gift as well. So thank you all for joining us. And we'll be having another speaker tomorrow. And thank you and enjoy your day and enjoy Radical Mindfulness. See you later. Okay.